Welcome, Dr. Hamna, for another video. Now we will talk about finding an appropriate setting, and then about consistency is key. So go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Sami. So the third point that we'll come across is finding an appropriate setting. Now, this might not sound as crucial and as important as time management and study skills and all the big things we spoke about, but believe me, it is. The reason it is because it has a huge impact on your studying, your format of study, how effective is it? It has a huge impact. For example, just a quick example, it took me quite some time to find out where I was performing my 100%. Ideally, what I would try at the start is that as soon as my lectures ended, I would try to just come home and I would try studying at home. But I realized going on forward that this was not my ideal setting of study itself because one, I was getting easily distracted. Second, home gives you an access to everything and everyone, so it kind of makes it very hard for you to sit and focus. This was my personal scenario. It doesn't apply to everyone. So I started experimenting a bit more, till I actually ended up in the university library. And for me, this worked the best. Everybody was studying. It also was, I could relate to everybody sitting there. For me personally, this made the most ideal spot for me to study, and I immediately noticed an increase in the efficiency of my studying pattern itself. I was way more focused. I was getting a lot more done in an hour rather than when I was not when I was sitting at home or anywhere else, and my pace picked up. And I realized that having this every single day was kind of like a motivator, because it helped me know exactly where I'm going next, what I'm doing, and how to proceed with it. Rather than, I knew that if I came back home or if I went to a cafe to study, etc., I would get easily distracted. So it's very important to know your appropriate setting of studying. I know a lot of friends that actually prefer cafes because they find it way more lively than the university library, and for them that helps. But what's important and what's crucial is that you find an appropriate setting for yourselves. It has to be the same place. You need to be well aware of that place. It needs to be somewhere you're comfortable. It should be somewhere that's calming, and it doesn't lead you or give you anxiety, or it doesn't make you anxious. These are some of the things that you should make sure when you're finding your spot, because a lot of times I know friends who actually have pretty much used the same table in the library from year 1 till year 5. They haven't even changed their tables in the library because they just find that spot comforting to them. They just find it as their comfort spot. So what I'm trying to bring at the end of that point is that find an appropriate setting. Figure out where your brain works at the maximum, where you're least distracted, where you're more efficient, and your performance level peaks up. It could be anywhere, and honestly it could even be your house, because everybody's scenario is different. So if your room and your study table are the most comfortable settings for you, that works for you as well. But what's important is that you don't keep switching and you don't keep experimenting in such a manner that you're losing time, you're wasting time, you're not set and at peace at any place. It's very important to actually find an appropriate setting itself. And understandably, it shouldn't be somewhere that's excessively crowded or distracting, and something like that is just not going to help. Another thing that comes under appropriate setting is that make sure you know where you are. By that, what I mean is that I know a lot of people prefer, some people prefer group study, which I personally really like. But it's important to know what you're getting into in such a sense that whenever you have a group study session, how efficient is it? How beneficial is it? Just to give an example of the bat, I had a friend who used to have our sessions. What we used to do is teach each other topics, and then we used to just discuss difficult topics. We would revise before and after on our own, and this was it. But I knew other people who were trying the same thing, but they had 5 people, 6 people in a group, and it really gets distracting when you add way too many people, because the questions increase, the clarity decreases, the confusion increases. So in finding an appropriate setting, it also includes how are you studying? Are you studying on your own? Are you studying with a peer? How is your method of studying? These are some things that you should really pay focus and figure out. Because what we do a lot of times subconsciously is that we do not pay attention to these things. So we just, experiment. It's a fail, it's a pass. We just, try figuring it out, and we don't really pay attention. But once you actively start paying attention to these things, you will start realizing that you're way more efficient. If you realize that this is not working for me, I need to change it earlier on, you're wasting way less time, and you're focused on finding it. So you will achieve your goal way faster than just experimenting, one by one, one by one, one by one. So this brings us to the end of our topic about finding an appropriate setting itself. Now, the fourth topic that I want to discuss, and I would say probably the most important one out of all four of them, is about consistency. Med school doesn't really judge how clever you are, because if you got into med school, you probably already cream of the lot. Med school judges how hardworking you can be. It's how much effort you put in, how much dedication do you have towards it. That's what we used to have a professor. He would say, you don't really need to worry about how intelligent you are. You being in med school is a sign that you are. But will you get out of here depends entirely on what you put into it. So consistency is extremely, extremely, extremely crucial. It means that you give your entire amount of dedication, your hard work, it stays put throughout. It's not like one day I'm extremely dedicated, the next day I'm just, I've decided that I won't do anything. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of effort, but it's something that pays off well in the end, in terms of it's a very rewarding profession on its own. So it's very important to be consistent in what you do. It's very important to maintain, bringing back to the topic of time management itself, it's very important to maintain your lifestyle in such a manner that you are not burning out from because of medicine, but at the same time you're not like having one day of like just studying for 10 hours, another day of 1 hour. No, stay consistent throughout, and that at the end of the day is actually the most important thing for if not the most, if it's not one of the most, it is the most important thing in studying effectively in medical school itself.
Alrighty. Thank you, doctor. So we'll stop here and then continue in the next session.
Okay, doctor, thank you.